This is an Audiomint original.
Welcome to Nation of Animation, a cartoon book club podcast for all ages. As always, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brooke.
And today we are talking about Brooke's favorite show that she's ever seen with her own eyes. We are, of course, talking about...
Sometimes you say this, and you say it on a show I intentionally dislike. Or you intentionally say it on a show I dislike. But today, you know what? This is one of my favorite shows.
That's right. We're back on the tick, everybody.
Oh my God. I would stop recording right now and walk out. You would never hear from me again.
It's a solo episode.
No, today we are talking about one of my very favorite cartoons. It's a new one. Newer.
Mm-hmm. Hot off the press.
Yes. And the big thing is that the new season of this cartoon drops literally tomorrow. So if you're listening to this,
episode drops.
If you're listening to this on Saturday, June 12th, tomorrow, Sunday, the 13th, you're going to be watching Tuca and Bertie.
So, Brooke, why do you like this show so much? What does it for you? That's so great about this show.
I love everything about it, first of all.
Oh, well, great.
I love that it's created by Lisa Hanawalt. Frequent listeners will remember that Lisa Hanawalt also worked on BoJack Horseman. She also wrote and illustrated one of my favorite pieces of media, Coyote Dog Girl, which I've talked about before. Also, I posted about Coyote Dog Girl on Instagram one day, and she replied to my Instagram story.
Wow.
It was so cool.
Hero.
I'm not going to tag her in anything about this episode. We've already interacted once, and I don't want to seem desperate.
Well, you don't run the Twitter. So.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
I can't resist. I don't think I can
Yes,
resist.
you can.
We'll see.
Ugh.
Go to our Twitter, at Cartoon Book Club, to see if I resist it or not.
I don't want her to think I'm trying to, latch onto her. Because I don't know this woman, okay? She just replied to my story about Coyote Dog Girl. I just think she's so cool. I follow her on Instagram. She has a podcast called Baby Geniuses, which is super cool as well. It's so hard to express your admiration for another person, especially a celebrity, without seeming like, I'm a real stan. I'm one of those creeps who's trying to find your whereabouts.
Yeah, we get it. You appreciate her work, and that's all it is. Yeah.
I think she's very cool. But she created Tuca and Bertie. Tuca and Bertie follows an adult friendship between two birds who are in their 30s.
Two birdies in their 30s.
Two birdies in their 30s. I'm not in my 30s. I said it like I'm in my 30s too, but I want to make it very clear I'm not in my 30s yet.
I feel like I'm in my 30s.
Well, you're not. You're in your late 20s, and I'm in my mid 20s. So
it'll happen to you. You'll see.
Anyway, so it's Impulsive Toucan Tuca, who is voiced by Tiffany Haddish, and the uber-organized, worrying songbird Bertie, spelled Bertie, voiced by Ali Wong. Also, Bertie's live-in boyfriend, Speckle, voiced by absolute dreamboat Steven Yeun.
Eagle-eared listeners will also remember that Bertie and Speckle are one of our top 10 cartoon couples of all time.
Yes. I have that in the notes later on in the episode, but you've already hit it. It's just true. Why don't you give us some history on the show, Ryan?
Mm-hmm. So, this show is based on Hanawalt's webcomic Tuca the Toucan, which ran from 2013 to 2014. And season 1 of the show premiered on Netflix on May 3rd, 2019. It was executive produced by Lisa Hanawalt, Raphael Bob-Waxberg of BoJack Horseman fame, Noel Bright, Stephen A. Cohen, Tiffany Haddish, and Ali Wong. However, the critical joy that was caused by the show was short-lived because it was canceled in July of the same year, which was really a stupid move on Netflix's part.
Well, it was sort of around this time that BoJack was also finishing its final season, and if you'll remember about BoJack, that was not necessarily a choice on their part to end on that season, though they were given time to wrap up the series. So it was like Netflix was making
Netflix
all
was
of
just
these
starting to
terrible
clean
decisions
house on a lot of shows.
Yeah.
They were cutting a lot of stuff.
But that's sort of a Netflix, you'll see now, that's sort of a Netflix hallmark. Like, they'll acquire a show and it'll run for 1 or 2 seasons and then they'll cancel it. And because Netflix does not necessarily release their viewer data, they especially really didn't used to, and now they'll release a little more, I believe, like certain things. It was always like, okay, well, we don't even know how this show is doing.
Yeah, it's just canceled because you said so, and there's no reason to.
I remember there being a whole lot of secretiveness around Netflix and their viewer user data. And they've sort of pulled away from that a little as time has gone on, but I do remember that. I really remember Tuca Bertie being canceled because I had loved the show when it first came out. I watched it like the day it was released and I flew through it. I've seen it maybe 5 times now all the way through. And I was heartbroken because I loved it so much. And I thought it was so great. And I was reading an article today, and Lisa Hanawalt said that she was blindsided by the cancellation because in her talks with her team and with Netflix, everything had seemed very positive and like they were going to be moving forward. And then it was canceled.
Wow.
But
jerks. Yeah, but good news.
Adult Swim contacted her the day it was canceled.
God, what a day that must have been to be like, you get one phone call, terrible news, your show's been canceled, and then the minute like an article goes live, you get another phone call that's like, hey, how would you like to unscrew this up?
The CEO of Adult Swim said like he even overplayed his hand, sort of. He wanted this show so bad. But I read Lisa Hanawalt was saying, she did not know if this was going to go through, so she was sort of working on like saying goodbye to Tuca and Bertie because it's hard to take a show from Netflix and put it somewhere else because Netflix has to be willing to work with you. You have to be willing to work with Netflix because they own the rights, to the first season. But the Adult Swim people said that Netflix was very generous in handing things over and that they were very excited to get it.
Nice.
And if you're on TikTok right now, you cannot scroll past, at least for me, my For You page without seeing people making the little fake Adult Swim ads.
They're so smooth. They're so good.
They're so good.
But
But
some eye catches. They're great.
people are doing it for free. Adult Swim is not paying for this, so they are getting tons of free advertising right now. And, I don't want any of us working for the man, but I'm happy it's happening now because I hope it, boosts Tuca and Bertie up a little.
Yeah, I mean, the show was critically acclaimed when it first came out, which made its cancellation even more baffling. Although there were some critics that said it was too similar to Broad City because that show's also about 2 female friends, and one of them is impulsive and one of them is a worrier. I think that's splitting hairs. That's showing some bias on those critics' part, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we can call it what it is. That's just
That's
sexist.
sexism.
It's
That's
just
bad.
sexist.
Yeah. But the show itself, we sort of mentioned how there's a show about anthropomorphic animals, primarily birds, although there are other characters who are not birds. There are also other characters who aren't even animals. There's plant people. There's 1 or 2 humans. This is a much more elastic and loose and silly reality than Hanawalt's work on BoJack Horseman. And the whole world is really more vibrant and kinetic than the cities in most other animated series. The thing that it most reminded me of was the children's books of Richard Scarry and Busy Town, where there's a car made out of an apple and whole huge animals will be in the same town as other people, and there's just constantly things happening whenever they go in a cityscape. This is a show where when music plays, the buildings bounce up and down to dance to it. This is a much more fluid animation style than.
And all the subways are snakes.
Or snails.
Cool.
There's also some gross snail subways.
Yeah. The slow trains are snails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's really cool. That's a really exciting and really alive sort of world that Hanawalt and company are making happen here. Also, lots of good baked goods in this show because Bertie wants to be a baker. There's lots of baked goods that look real tasty and remind me of some Miyazaki munchies from Studio Ghibli films.
I tried to make the Sweet Beak, like sweet rolls with lemon filling that Birdie makes.
This.
And they were so gross. And that's my fault, not Birdie's. They were disgusting. I had filmed a whole TikTok all day, like, this is how you make this, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, they were so disgusting, I didn't even post it.
Wow. Hey, where can people find you on TikTok?
I don't know what my TikTok name is.
Wow.
I'm just on there for fun. Let me look. Oh, okay. I'm at BeSmith007 on TikTok.
So if you want the occasional drop of some TikTok gold, you know,
you can
give Brooke a follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what episodes are we talking about today, Brooke?
We're doing a couple different ones. Do you want to do them in order, like chronological order?
Great. Yeah.
Cool beans. So we'll start with me. So it's a short season. The first season, I believe it's 9 episodes. Is that right?
I think it's 10.
10?
Jelly Lakes is 9, and then there's one more.
Okay, so it's 10 episodes. It's a short first season. You can breeze through it in a day. We will be discussing some big plot points from the season. So if you haven't seen it yet and don't want to be spoiled, I would say go watch it first, then come listen to this, and then watch the season 2 premiere on Adult Swim.
There you go. There's your weekend planned, everybody.
Man, speaking of free advertising for Adult Swim, I mean, look at what we're giving them right here.
We're really just chilling here, huh?
Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, so we're going to be discussing pretty much all of the first season, though we picked specific episodes. So just be warned. So my first pick was season 1, episode 3. It's called The Deli Guy. It was really hard for me to pick episodes at all because I love them all. I cannot stress enough how often I rewatch this. So I've seen them all multiple times.
These are Brooke's emotional support birds.
That's true. So the sort of basic plot of this episode is that Tuca has a crush on a guy who works at the deli. He's a monkey. He's so cute.
He uses his tail to make the sandwiches.
Yes. So she ends up going on a very awkward date with him. And then the sort of B plot is Birdie. She's struggling to spice up her scheduled sex life with Speckle. So Tuca, this is her first date since becoming sober. So all the other dates she had gone on in her life, she had been drunk and she felt, like very vibrant and unafraid. So she sort of psychs herself out with this one. And it gets very awkward. I would say Tuca's date with the deli guy, hard to watch sometimes. It's so cringe. Ugh.
Agreed. Yeah, no, this is early in the show. This is kind of us seeing Tuca on her own for the first time, I want to say. I think in the first 2 episodes, they're more like aligned. And then we get a little bit of Birdie as a solo person in episode 2. And then episode 3 is like Tuca goes on this date alone. And we know that Tuca has like given up drinking and is trying to go straight edge. So we're seeing her in this like rebuilding phase. And part of that is falling on old habits of like partying hard and not knowing how to like dial it in. It's like really human in an interesting way, but in a very awkward way for sure.
Yes, so that's Tuca's big plot. And meanwhile, Birdie and Speckle have sex like every Tuesday and Thursday. Speckle comes home, they make out for exactly 2 minutes. He touches her left boob, then they have regular sex. So she is trying to spice things up. So they watch porn together. And Speckle's idea of porn is like his life. It's like, oh yay, we just moved in together and we love each other. Except for the Birdie bird is blue. And then Birdie's idea of porn is not porn. It is a period drama called The Nests of Netherfield, which is like a Downton Abbey, Pride and Prejudice sort of thing. And first they try like role playing and stuff, and Speckle starts telling Birdie that she's a very bad bird and he's disappointed in her, and she starts crying.
Hurts her feelings, it's too real.
Yes, and says, no, I'm a good bird. Which is great. And there's great voice acting in this episode. I think Steven Yeun in particular, I think he does great voice acting in this episode. So they're struggling with that. At the end of the episode, Speckle recreates the nests of Netherfield in their apartment for Birdie. And it's so sweet. And we did mention that moment specifically when we talked about Birdie and Speckle as part of our 10 best cartoon couples.
It's a great moment because it's an all-time 10 best cartoon couple moments.
Speckle is just a good Guy. I love him.
He's a goober.
Yes, he reminds me of someone else I know.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Who is on this podcast with me.
You have a predilection for real goobers, huh?
I do. I love Speckle. This episode has a lot of beautiful animation in it, too. So you got the snake trains, which are cool. We mentioned them earlier. Also, Tuca and the Deli Guy go to this beautiful glowworm exhibit. And it looks stunning. They've drawn it beautifully. And then the gag is that when the lights come up, you see all the gross glowworms.
They're gross. Yeah, they look bad. But
Which
no,
is
like
so
the use
funny.
of light in that sequence is really cool. When like the making cartoons like glow is a thing that you maybe don't think about, but it is neat to see how them play with like light and shadow and stuff.
And then they also go to like a fair, like a country fair type thing, and ride one of the spinning rides. And that animation sequence is very cool too.
Yeah, this show does not rest on its laurels. I feel like every episode has at least one cool animation trick or sequence where they mix it up.
Which makes sense,
good.
because Lisa Hanawalt is a writer and she does stuff like that, but she's also mostly known for being an illustrator. And I think it's really cool to have a cartoon come up from the mind of an illustrator specifically, because that's not always the case. Like Raphael Bob Waxberg did BoJack, but Lisa Hanawalt did the character design. So you've got like sort of a melding of the minds there, but Lisa Hanawalt's the showrunner on Tuca and Bertie and the creator. So to have it from her, I think it brings a different perspective to it, especially visually.
Absolutely, yeah.
So some issues in this one that this episode sort of hits on, the struggles of sobriety are what we're seeing in Tuca's character in this episode specifically. And then also the monotony of a long-term relationship or falling into a routine. So that's all very relatable, I think, to
There's also
people get a little older.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Speckle, he pulls it out together at the end of the episode, but in the beginning when he's like, "Can we just do it the usual way?" I'm a little like, "You loser, come on, be there for your girl."
He was trying,
Mix it
though.
up more.
He watched Nests of Netherfield with her, Ryan.
I know, but before that,
He even was trying the role-playing stuff.
I don't know. He was just so excited to go back to the usual way.
You're too hard on him.
I'm looking for reasons to deduct points.
Yes, you were too hard on poor Speckle. He's a sweetie. One really funny gag in this, there is a human in this episode. We don't see a lot of humans. It's this weird British peeping Tom girl. She like sits and with her binoculars and narrates Speckle and Bertie's like sexual activities. And her name's Nicola.
Yeah, she's doing like a Attenborough parody of like narrating them like a nature documentary.
Yes. I think if I were anyone in the show, I would be her.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Why
No,
do
it's
you
not
think that?
what I would choose. It's just who I am.
I don't know if I see that, but I'll let you have it, I guess.
I love her. There's a great scene at the end where Tuca and Bertie are sitting out on their fire escape of Bertie's apartment. And Tuca just takes her shirt off and like flashes the town. And then Bertie like reaches for a shirt and then doesn't do it and just laughs.
She goes, nah. It's a really sweet little character moment.
And I love that. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole show. And that's another beautiful animation. You can see like the city out around them. Yeah, so it's a great episode. Despite some of the cringy date stuff, it's still one of my favorites. I really enjoy it.
That's a good one. That's a keeper. I also almost chose that one, but then I was like, I bet Brooke wants to talk about the Nests of Netherfield. I was going to say Nests of Netherfeather, but that's nothing. So the next episode we're talking about is episode 5 called Plumage. So this is the end of the first half of the season. The basic premise is it is Tuca's aunt's birthday, and Tuca's aunt is financially supporting her, so every year Tuca has to go visit her. Speckle wants to go because Tuca offhandedly mentions that her auntie lives in a Beekshires, which is like a neighborhood full of cool architecture. And Speckle is, as we know, an architect and the bad boy of architecture, so he can't resist.
And he sings a little song that's like, it's Tuca and Speckle Day.
Yeah, Speckle can't wait to have a special adventure just with Tuca.
Because he's a sweetie.
Yeah, he's an endearing goober this episode.
Every episode.
Bertie, on the other hand, is going to be taking a whole day to herself. She's going to go jogging. She's going to go to a women taking up space class. That she begins her internship in this episode.
I believe so.
Yeah, she begins her internship with a baker named Pastry Pete, who we'll talk about in a little bit. So Bertie has like a solo adventure, which is mostly her like starting out really confident, wanting to take the world for herself and just like live and be Bertie, and then incident by incident getting her confidence and feeling of safety whittled down by male culture and the male gaze. There's an early scene where a plumber comes by that she didn't know was coming in because the landlord didn't tell her. He's extremely creepy, he's extremely unpleasant and not fun to be around, and like forces her out of her own apartment. And then when she's jogging, she gets catcalled repeatedly, and it's rough to watch because it's just watching Bertie get like knocked down over and over again in these scenes, and she just wants to have a good time. She even like at the beginning of the episode, she talks about picking out this fun romper she's gonna wear, but then like when it comes time to put it on, she gets too self-conscious and literally shreds it, which I thought was very sad.
Oh, so much of it made me so sad. The plumber made me really mad because he was just a creep, and he's mentioning how he has the key to her apartment and all this stuff. And also the romper, because and I'm sure many other women have experienced wearing something that you think, oh, I look great in this. This is so cute. And then someone makes a comment to you about it and you feel like I could never wear that again.
Then she goes to the Women Taking Up Space meeting, which is like abbreviated as WTUS, WTUS, where a bunch of other young women are being like coached on how to be more confident and how to, take up space, like the title suggests, which is led by a lizard played by Kate Berlant, which is sort of this like running joke of like, what's the right way to be feminist? Is there any one way to like stand up for yourself? And is there a way that like women should behave, quote unquote, to stand up for themselves? And this is, a complex idea. I mean, the answer is like whatever way works best for you individually, but like society forces genders into like specific roles, and this is a neat little sideways examination of that phenomenon, I suppose.
Yes, and the WTUS gals come back strong in later episodes, and a lot of the WTUS stuff is just kind of sad, especially because it puts a lot of onus on women to fend off catcallers and stuff like that, as opposed to like men just shouldn't do that. But when you're a woman, what else can you do? Like people, men aren't going to stop doing that. So you do have to learn strategies that are like, okay, well, if this happens to me, I would do this.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's messed up, but it's true.
Yeah.
Over on Tuca and Speckle Day, they go to Auntie's house. Tuca's auntie, who is played by Jennifer Lewis, is extremely rich from getting rich in the, quote, plumage industry, which is like fashion, just writ large. She's also completely alone, other than her butler, Bernard, who is a dog. Not a Saint Bernard, like his name would suggest. He's more of a Borzoi from how he's drawn. However, there are also just like other little actual dogs, like little fluffy poodles running around. And there are also actual birds like flying around helping her. So it's a real goofy Pluto situation in Auntie's house. One of the tensions of this visit is that Tuca hasn't told her aunt that she's no longer drinking. So she has to pretend to be drinking the whole day, which mostly means giving her drinks to Speckle, who gets pretty shit-faced in this episode. Speckle also loves this house. He is just in love with this big, weird architectural find, and he is a big nerd in this episode, and it's very endearing.
And there's a lot of cool animation sequences here because you can sort of go back into the walls of the house through secret doors and stuff like that. So all of that looks super cool and is drawn in a way that you're like, oh my gosh.
Just like Escher-like impossible house.
Yeah.
Tuca's aunt is not a great person, it turns out. She's, quite lonely and bitter. She also tells Tuca that she can't depend on anyone and that Tuca is going to be fundamentally alone forever, which is a mean thing to say to anyone, let alone family, and says that Tuca only depends on her aunt for money and that her aunt knows this and says that, like, yeah, that's what all relationships are. Everyone just wants what they can get from you, which hurts and pushes Tuca to tear up the check that her aunt was going to give her.
And Tuca's aunt also, makes these comments about Tuca's mom, who has passed away, indicating that, like, her mom deserved what she got.
Right. There is
things like that.
a great sequence about that. We get a flashback of like Tuca's upbringing where they're all like rendered in like yarn. And that is a neat visual style to show the past, as it were. And another cool animation moment for this episode is this craft flashback. Yeah, and that cruelty, this is a big Tuca episode where we get a lot about her history and also just get to see her like backed into a corner and how tough it is to change and how like much easier it would be to just fall back on old patterns, but she does stick it out and she's worried about it, and it's not easy. There's 5 episodes left, but I do think that this does work as a sort of mid-season pivot to what the rest of the first season is. This is a fundamental change for Tuca and how she interacts in the whole world and like how she deals with responsibility.
And we also see this with Bertie in this episode too, because at the end of the episode, Bertie has started her apprenticeship at a bakery run by a man named Pastry Pete.
He's a Pastry Pete, the pastry penguin, played by Reggie Watts.
Yes. And they are baking, and he pushes Bertie's head down, like very violently over this, I don't know, hot stove.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's very, it's like a power trip for him, like an almost sexually violent situation, right? And then at the end of the episode, Bertie runs into the bathroom and starts like, this is gonna get a little blue, sorry if you're worried about that. Starts like furiously masturbating in the bathroom after Pastry Pete did that to her. And it's jarring. It's a jarring end of the episode.
It is. I mean, Pastry Pete like pushing her head towards this pot is framed as a like overstepping boundaries. It is framed as like an uncomfortable, unwanted thing from a boss to a subordinate. And then we get Bertie being like nervous and flustered, and then the pivot happens, and it is framed as this like really complex sort of knotted end of this episode and this development and how Bertie is going to interact with her instructor, her boss.
Yeah, and it's sort of a build on what we're sort of talking about with Woodus, like the notion of the right way to be a woman, the right way to be a feminist. But it's also about, women's relationships with people who are an authority figure over them or people in positions of power. Yeah, it's very complex. I don't really know even my own thoughts on it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, if you're listening, you should definitely, if you haven't, watch the whole episode because there's a lot of complexities within that.
I mean, in past episodes, we've heard about how Bertie is kind of attracted to Pastry Pete, and that does not justify his assault on her or anything. It does not justify his actions, but I
don't necessarily want to call it an assault because I want to frame it in how Bertie sees it.
Right, yeah. It doesn't justify his behavior, but it does, build on her like feelings for that and her need to be her like, thoughts on intimacy and sex, like we mentioned in the Deli Guy episode. There is like a complicated relationship there with like longing and power and what can and can't happen. So it's a complex issue, and the good news is it doesn't like end with this episode. The back half of the season still deals with this plot thread because it can't be solved in one 20-minute episode. But yeah, so watch that and draw your own conclusions. This episode also features a quick cameo from Georgia Hardstark and Karen Kilgariff of My Favorite Murder as hosts of a podcast that Speckle is listening to that Tuca does not enjoy.
No, Tuca's listening to it and Speckle doesn't enjoy it, right?
No, because Speckle's like, I got this podcast. And they're like, this woman married a man and then got murdered and he married her sister.
Oh, yes. And then it just talks about the law.
But we covered that last week. So this week we're going to talk about the appellate court system. And Tuca's like, boring.
Yes, you're right. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. We also get to see Speckle shirtless in this episode, which I'm sure was a big thing for some fans.
Loved it.
Sure, Speckle he's got a tummy going on. He's built. Good for him.
He's a little cutie.
Yeah, so that is Plumage. That is the end of the first half of season 1. And now we're gonna go to season 8, a few episodes later.
Season 8?
Yeah, didn't you know? They put on so much. Yeah, they did a covert content drop. You haven't watched season 8 yet?
I haven't. I'm sorry.
No. Season 1, episode 8, called The New Bird. There's a new bird working at Pastry Pete's. There's a canary named Dakota who is fresh in town with 2 suitcases full of socks and a head full of dreams. She immediately goes to Pastry Pete's bakery and sees Bertie there, gets a job there. She's very excited. This is sort of the, like, writ large, Dakota is like the new kid in town, the like country kid with big dreams.
Voiced by Amber Ruffin.
Who does a great job.
Yes, yeah. And she has a late night talk show on Peacock now.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great casting in this one. At the same time, this comes after, in a previous episode, Tuca and Bertie have had like a friend breakup. They've had like a severe argument and a need to like reappraise their boundaries with each other, so they're not currently talking to each other. So Tuca's like trying to dance the pain away, and Bertie and Speckle are trying to make adult friends, which is difficult in your 30s. I am told.
I was about to say you're not in your 30s, so.
By this episode, I'm told that is true. So Dakota comes in and is such a like big ball of energy, and at first we seem to think that Bertie and Dakota are not going to get along. That is a trick. That is internalized misogyny. In fact, they quickly become best friends
because they both are wearing the same little cupcake shoes as their comfort nervous. Shoes. Yes,
yeah, it's very cute. It's very sweet. It is very neat, and it's very different to like Bertie and Tuca's friendship, where they are sort of like supporting each other, and like Bertie and Dakota are like pushing each other to go further. They're like excelling. They're complimenting each other really well for most of the episode. And it's a neat change to what we had seen before and different types of adult female friendships, which is what this show is, built on. At the same time, as Tuca is like trying to like party away her pain, she ends up going to like a wellness retreat. Doesn't like the thought of being mindful and instead starts a cult that quickly spirals out of hand. During that cult, there's also a dream sequence, a vision sequence that's in claymation that's really cool, continuing the show's streak of inventive animation sequences. So I just wanted to call that out really quick.
I really liked that it's sort of the B plot of the episode. I think it's funny. I like stuff about cults. Also, Jerk comes back. Jerk was in episode 2. I liked this. We'll disagree here. And he had like sexually harassed Bertie at work. And she like called him out. It was great. It's a great episode. That episode's called The Promotion. But he comes back in this episode like trying to better himself as part of Tuca's little wellness cult. And they just start beating the shit out of him at the end.
It's great. He deserves it. I was so happy. I hope they killed him.
Yeah, I didn't mind that much. It was fine. It was funny, though. I liked it because it was funny.
Dirk is there with another coworker of Bertie's who's a long-necked goose who works in HR in a previous episode. Her name is, what is it?
Helena Regina Lady.
Helena Regina Lady. Her name is HR Lady, which is a very good joke.
Voiced by Nicole Byer, who does a lot of different like ensemble voices throughout the series, and she's always great.
Nicole Byer in this episode also plays a turkey who is like tripping on hallucinogenics in a club scene and has like painted a hand turkey on her own hands and says, "I should put these on the fridge." And that's one of my favorite jokes in the whole show. But I think the real A plot of this is the new bird of the title. It is the Dakota and Bertie dynamic, mainly because this is the episode where the shoe really drops on Pastry Pete, where we stop playing in ambiguity and stop playing in like, what is he or isn't he? Because for one, Dakota and Bertie invent a new snack that becomes a big hit in the restaurant, which is like spaghetti with chouquette, like sugar on top. They call it just like chouquetti, I believe is the name of the silly food, which does not sound good, but the birds of this city love it. So good for them. And maybe it would be good and I'm just uncultured. That's also possible. But afterwards, Pastry Pete comes in and realizes this and says, "This is great. Put it on the menu. We'll name it like Pastry Pete's Family Surprise." He immediately takes credit for it and like takes it as his own. Then he does the exact same head pushing thing he did to Bertie to Dakota, and Dakota, as a canary, cries out bullshit and says that is wrong, and gets immediately like furious, rightly so, for this harassment and leaves. Bertie then goes and tries to talk her back, and Dakota asks like, if he did anything like that to her and why she didn't warn her. And that is like a big moment for Bertie to realize like her complicity, the complicit role she is like played in like letting Pastry Pete be a shit bag.
Yeah, I would consider this another, complicated plot point because I don't know, like what onus can we put on other women to protect other women when it's the men who are doing this to them? And also, in that moment, I feel very bad for Bertie. I feel most bad for Dakota, but also for Bertie because it would have been impossible for her to speak up without jeopardizing her own ambitions within Pastry Pete's bakery.
Yeah, and I think the show does a good job of not judging Bertie for it. I think the show gets you on both Dakota and Bertie's sides in this moment. You can see where they both are coming from, and that's really artfully handled.
Yeah, that episode just makes me really sad. I don't know.
And then Dakota leaves, and it's sad because she was a great character.
Yeah, and even taking it back to like Bertie, and if we take it at face value that her interaction with Pastry Pete was a wanted interaction, it's still wrong because he's her boss, Like, he's in a position of authority over her. So already those lines are blurred there. And then obviously he's just a super creep anyway, but,
Yeah. Yeah. It is heavy stuff. Handled well, but heavy stuff. And at the very end, we do get a bit where Tuca like leaves her cult and is walking down the road, and Bertie is driving back, and they just happen to pass. Bertie just happens to pass her, and silently she lets her in the car. And I think that is a very nice, understated, sophisticated way to just let them reconcile without having to have like two huge monologues or anything. And like the next episode makes it concrete that they're like back together as pals, but it's a very nice understated moment to like end this episode where the two of them are at kind of low points.
Yes, and I thought that was very BoJack-esque. Like this big silent scene and moment at the end, and then you sort of know, things are about to get serious as we get to the end of the season.
And you'd be right about that.
Yeah, so speaking of the end of the season, I'm actually going to talk about the next episode. This is the penultimate episode in the season. And if you'll remember our BoJack episode, I always pick the penultimate BoJack episodes as my favorite ones to talk about. So I'm glad I'm keeping the streak here. This is season 1, episode 9, The Jelly Lakes. This is one of the most famous episodes within the season. It was nominated for 3 Annie Awards. It won 1. So it was nominated for Best General Audience Animated TV Film and Outstanding Achievement for Voice Acting and Outstanding Achievement for Writing. It won Outstanding Achievement for Writing for Shauna McGarry. And there's been a lot of articles written about this episode, a lot of high praise for their tackling of sexual assault within this episode. And this is something that's outside of Pastry Pete, so we're going on a sort of different plot here. There are some super choice guest actors in this episode. You've got Jane Lynch, lesbian icon from Glee. Sue Sylvester is in this episode as Bertie's old swim coach.
If there was ever a show we broke from animation to cover, it would be Glee, I think.
I do love Glee. And then you also have Isabella Rossellini, who I know from 30 Rock, though she's been in a lot of different things. But she was Jack's ex-wife on 30 Rock. So she is Bertie's old swim coach's lesbian partner. Love that. So the basic plot of this episode, Tuca and Bertie are in the car together. They're driving. And they're trying to repair their fractured friendship. So they talk it out a little. They're feeling a little better. They go to a mall together, and there's a lot of great jokes about how, like, malls are going out. But there's still one here. And there's a great bit where they are in a knockoff sort of Claire's kind of store. And they watch the teen birds who work there who had also gotten a fight make up. And then they start crying and make up. And then the birds look at them and call them old. So that was just fun. It's just a funny little sequence. And while on the road, they run into Bertie's old swim coach, Coach Maple, from the summer camp she used to go to. So they start talking. They decide to follow her up to the Jelly Lakes, which is where the camp is and where Bertie's family owns a cabin. They get there. They meet Coach Maple's partner, Pat. But while they're there, Bertie has to start confronting the sexual assault that she experienced as a camper at the Jelly Lakes from one of the lifeguards. So Bertie had been this wonderful swimmer, and everyone said how great she was, and then she stopped swimming because of that, and she never got to complete her goal of swimming out to this island called Peanut Butter Island. So as the episode goes on, and with the encouragement of the women around her, she makes the swim out to Peanut Butter Island, and then Tuca calls it Peanut Bertie Island.
Aww.
Which was so nice. So that's sort of the basic plot of this one. I read some articles on this one, an interview that Deli Guy did with Lisa Hanawalt, and she said that she specifically did not want the sexual assault that Bertie experienced to be very specific. She didn't want to show the man's face. She didn't want to show what happened to Bertie because she didn't want people to judge Bertie or say that she was overreacting. She just wanted it to be that something happened to her and it was enough that it affected her and made her feel the way she did. And I think that was especially important in this episode because it allowed a lot of people to see themselves in this episode. And a lot of people have mentioned that when they've written about it as well. There's tons of beautiful animation in this one. Bertie recounts herself as a younger bird and like tells the story of what happened to her. And the animation is so cool. And you get that again when she's swimming to the lake and she starts to falter and she's going under in the water and she like gets help from her past younger bird self. Oh, it's very touching. And then a little side thing, Pat makes these beautiful eggs that have little pictures in them. And she teaches Tuca how to make them, and Tuca makes one of her family, like her mom when she was a baby. And the little eggs are just so beautiful as well. And there's also a great moment. The teen birds from the mall are also at the Jelly Lakes, and Bertie starts talking about how young they are and how she hopes nothing ever happens to them that's going to hurt them. And I feel like this all the time now because I'm not super old. I'm 26. I just turned 26. And I work with, I mean, not just, but I work with our intern company where I work and we employ a lot of younger people for the summer. And I look at them and I think, oh God, I hope nothing bad ever happens to them. They're so young. That's what I feel like all the time. I think they're so young.
Yeah, fun fact, not a single male voice is heard in this episode, which is smart and a good call.
Yeah.
I think this episode highlights the things we've talked about in all these other episodes today, which is like this is really handling these themes and experiences with a really deft amount of care and a real focus on like the emotion and the way that these characters are living in the world. And it's more about them as people than it is about any like single event that happened. And I think that's really, really effective.
So it's an excellent episode. It's the next to last episode before the season ends. And I think it's a great way to sort of start to tie up the loose ends that we have before we get into the final episode. Which we're not talking about today.
Which we're not. We don't know what it is.
We have seen the final episode.
We've seen it, yeah. Yeah, Brooke's watched this show 5 or 6 times, so.
But you have to go watch the whole series so you can get to the final episode. So you're ready for tomorrow. Yeah, so that's just sort of an overview on Tuca and Bertie. Ryan, do you have any last thoughts on the show or anything, any of the themes or issues?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think it's such a smart show, and I think it deals with like the issues of like not the issues it deals with the themes of like modern femininity and identity and what it means to like define yourself with other people in a really smart way, whether that's like friendships or relationships or like your work and what you do. I think this is a really powerful exciting show, and I'm so happy that we get to see more of it because in 10 episodes it's already like lodged itself in so many people's hearts in a way that very few shows do.
Yes, and I love that it is so unapologetically about women. It's not commenting on like them as women, it's just about them as female birds.
So now that we've talked about our love of the show, let's head on down to the sketchy side so Brooke can list her grievances with this show.
Haha, fun fact.
We didn't really have
We didn't really have a sketchy side.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a
So
good show.
instead, we're going to talk about the new season.
Yeah, I will say thematically, I am eager and curious to see the show tackle other themes. I think it's really cool that the core three, Ali Wong, Tiffany Haddish, and Steven Yeun, none of them are white. They all are other races. I would love to see the show tackle other identities like race or like gender and like sexuality as much as it's tackled like being women and femininity. I think that the writers are clearly up to the challenge. I would love to see like what else they have to say about this bird world.
So I've read some things about the new season. So it seems like we've got two diverging plot lines here. So excited that Ali Wong, Tiffany Haddish, and Steven Yeun are all coming back. That's wonderful. So Bertie is going to be struggling to find a therapist that is the right fit for her. And then Tuca is going to be working on getting into a relationship as, you know, her new sober self and how that's going to work for her. So building on some of the things that we saw in the Deli Guy. And I've seen one clip from the new season. They're at like a bachelorette party in like this plant city. The plant people are so cool. The plant girls are so cool. So I'm excited to see more of them. And I'm obviously excited to see more like Bertie Speckle stuff because I love Speckle and Bertie. And I'm excited.
It's your favorite character.
No, Bertie is my favorite.
Brooke's favorite show, Tuca and Speckle, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested in how they're going to portray therapy as a whole. You know, because I think that for a lot of people, it takes a lot to find the right therapist. I think people will feel very seen by Bertie's struggle to do that. I'm also super excited for some more Nicole Byer, like ensemble voicing character stuff. I think she's wonderful. I think it's going to be really, really great. I'm so excited to watch it the day after this episode comes out.
It's like we're like kids on Christmas Eve for more Tuca and Bertie.
I'm thrilled.
And yeah, that's the sketchy side. So it's more like sketchy and like it's a sketch and it's not filled in yet, but because we haven't seen the season yet. But yeah, there you go.
So now it's time for our fun little bit thing that we do at the end.
We need a name for. Well, now it's time for the segment. So what's this week's segment, Brooke?
So Tuca and Bertie features humanoid bird people. So I want each of us to describe the other as they would be as a cartoon bird. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I already have yours.
I'm Googling cool birds. So let's see if I can find the bird.
Well, I prepared for this segment, so I'm ready.
I wanted to do it live. I was like, we'll just do it in the moment, I bet. But okay. So why don't you go ahead then?
Okay, well, I think that you would be a magpie.
Ooh.
Because magpies, they're very beautiful, and they have such dark feathers, and you have black hair. And
sometimes.
Yes, sometimes when it's not a beautiful color. But they're very smart. They're also very loyal. And I think you are those things. So you would be a magpie. And you would have a little like spiky magpie hair. And you would wear a little short sleeve button up shirt.
I've worn those in the past.
Yes.
It's true.
And a pair of jeans. And you don't own a pair of Birkenstocks, but I would put you in a pair of Birkenstocks as the magpie.
I'll tell you, the only thing I did know going into this was that I knew your bird person would also be wearing Birkenstocks because I know you love your Birks.
They would be called Birdenstocks.
Birdenstocks. There we go.
Birdenstocks.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Or Birkenstocks.
Ah, also good. They'll probably go with Birkenstocks because they can make a go logo out of that.
Yeah.
So your bird would be a barn owl, the ones with the white face and the very cool dark eyes. You would wear your glasses. You would have. I wonder how you do long hair, but with feathers, because I want to make sure we get your full long hair. You'd have glasses, a little owl cardigan on, and some jeans, and a shirt with like a green stripe on the top, and then a blue stripe on the bottom, and a white stripe on the middle. This is a specific shirt you own or used to own. Do you remember it?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's like a sweatshirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, put that on a cool barn owl with glasses and a nose ring, or like a beak ring.
Oh, thank you.
That'd be very cool, I think. I mean, the correct answer, obviously, is we would all prefer to be the plant people, because the plants are cool.
Well, we're birds. I feel like you are describing me as like a librarian bird.
No, as like a cool owl. Owls are great.
Okay, I'll trust you.
Owls are vicious. Owls have personality, too. A lot of people won't tell you. Owls have personality.
I'm glad you're here to tell me.
Yeah. Growing up on a farm.
Well, great. That would be us in the Tuca and Bertie universe. Ryan and Brooke.
Magpie. Yeah. Any fan artists out there, we would love to see Owl, Brooke, and Magpie Ryan.
Because we can't draw.
We can't do it.
Ryan can, actually. I cannot.
Not anymore. I lost those skills when I turned 28.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was really when I turned like 22.
I'm so sorry. They just left you spontaneously.
I haven't drawn since I left high school. But yeah, anyway. So, want to do some real world Rex?
Yes!
What would you like to recommend?
No, you better go first because I don't have anything yet.
Motherfucker, I don't have anything either. Oh, yes I do. Okay. My real world recommendation is a video game, as we are wont to do. This is a re-release of a game that came out last year on PC, but it is now out on the Nintendo Switch. It is called Umurangi Generation. It's Umurangi Generation. Umurangi Generation is developed by a company called Origame Digital. It is about taking photographs. You're like a little photographer running around these cool futuristic cityscapes that have been ruined by like a vague like supernatural threat is what I'll say, because like the way the game tells you the story is through just like posters hanging up and newspapers all over the ground. It's a very cool, chill game that I've been playing recently, and I love it a lot. And the music also slaps, and it's just a very fascinating look at like how stuff like video games are talking about like climate change and also like police brutality and just the world at large these days. And it's a really just a little masterpiece of a game. Brooke, you go ahead.
Sure. So, as some of you may know, I work at a theater company, and we are opening our first show of the summer this weekend. We're very excited. Thanks. But just a reminder that live theater is currently coming out of its cage and not doing just fine. So my rec this week is to make a small donation to a local theater company near you. Any amount helps, and really just seeing support helps more than you can say. So this is so like on my soapbox, like action-y item thing. But if you think about it, if you have the means, check out a local theater company in your area and make a small donation to them.
That's way better than my thing. I'm just playing dumb video games like an idiot. Oh well.
Sorry.
Well, thank you for joining us again. Please give us a rating and a subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We would deeply appreciate it. Feel free to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Cartoon Book Club. We would love to hear from you. And feel free to listen to all the other great audio mint podcasts that we share and network with, like Voice of a Generation, which may have someone familiar very soon, or Blank City Nowhere, which we are about to start playing. Actually, we just started, by the time this comes out, we will have just began our big detective noir game where we're trying to solve a murder mystery, and it almost immediately goes off the rails. So listen to that. Yeah, so give Audio Mint your support and give local theaters your financial support. Pretty please.
Thanks so much for listening today. Until next time, the state of animation is...
Strong.
Strong.
Nation of Animation is hosted by Ryan Stevens and Brooke Aaron Smith and produced by Danny Mendoza. Our show art is by Herbashi Lele, and our theme music is by Jacob Menke. Be sure to follow us at Cartoon Book Club on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for listening!